Welcome to my channel, MS Old Coins. Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of one particular coin, the single Australia 50-cent 1971 Elizabeth II coin, its origins, what makes it so interesting to collectors, and why it can fetch a respectable sum. So if you own one or are curious, stay tuned. Let's get started when Australia shifted to decimal currency on February 14th, 1966. The new coins included a 50-cent piece. At first, the coin was round and made of 80% silver and 20% copper. However, the price of silver rose quickly, and that first round version became economically unviable. The mint withdrew that silver version, and in September 1969, reintroduced a 50-cent coin in a new shape, a 12-sided or dodecagonal form, and new alloy copper-nickel. The 1971 version we're talking about is the dodecagonal copper-nickel coin, minted by the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra. The coin carries on one side the bust of Queen Elizabeth II, young effigy by Arnold Mackin, and on the reverse the coat of arms of Australia, supported by a kangaroo and an emu, a design by Stuart Devlin. According to the catalogs, the 1971 minted for this coin, KM number 68, is 21,056,000 regular strike pieces, plus about 10,000 proof pieces. So why is this 1971 50-cent coin considered valuable? First, although 21 million is a large number, for modern collectors it's not trivial. Conditioned coins, uncirculated, with original luster, become more rare. Second, its design is classic. The standard circulation coin of that year is now decades old, so reasonably nice examples become collectible. Third, condition matters. Coins that show little wear, original mint luster, maybe with nice tone, tend to fetch higher premiums. What values are we seeing? On recent online listings, you'll find the coin selling for quite modest sums when circulated. For example, some listings at under US $10 to US $20 for circulated pieces. On rarer grades, very high uncirculated, certified by grading services, you could see higher values. One listing advertises it at around US $200. Thus, yes, it is valuable more than face value. And for the right example, you may be pleasantly surprised. If you ask, what is the maximum price you might reasonably expect for a top-grade coin certified by a major grading company, with excellent toning or pristine condition provenance, maybe even a gem rating, you might see a price in the several hundreds of US dollars range. It's unlikely to hit thousands unless there is some extraordinary variety, error, or ultra-rare condition that makes it unique. The typical top market might range to around US $200 to $300, or perhaps more special. But for most people, selling it for tens of dollars above its face or bullion equivalent is realistic. In short, yes, that 1971 coin is valuable, in the sense of being collectible and worth more than 50 cents, especially in good condition. If you have one in excellent condition, you should consider getting it graded or preserved correctly. If you're thinking of selling, present it well. Ensure it's clean, but don't clean it. Cleaning often destroys collectible value. Maybe have photos of both sides. Note any toning, wear, or marks. Market it to collectors of Australian coins. To wrap up, this single 1971 Australian 50-cent coin stands as a fine example of Australian decimal coinage history, blending an interesting transition in shape and alloy, and now offers you a genuine chance to turn a small face value coin into a meaningful collectible. If you own one in nice condition, well done, you're holding something worth more than most people realize. If you like, I can check recent auction results and show you actual realized sales for this coin from around the world, especially in Australia, so you get a current market value estimate. Would you like me to pull that together? Next coin, the 1981 Australia 50-cent coin, is an outstanding piece for collectors, and it's one you should absolutely take seriously if you own one or are thinking of acquiring one. This coin is valuable, and its potential for appreciation in the future is real. So stay tuned, because you may have something special in your hands. This particular coin was minted in Australia in 1981, denominated at 50 cents, composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, with a weight of about 15.55 grams and a dodecagonal, 12-sided shape. On the obverse is the diadem bust of Elizabeth II with the legend, Elizabeth II, Australia 1981. On the reverse, it carries the Australian Commonwealth coat of arms, shield, kangaroo, emu, set above stylized wattle leaves. Historically, this coin falls into an interesting time. The Australian 50-cent coin type, in its dodecagonal form, was introduced in 1969 after the previous round silver version was withdrawn. The 1981 coin was part of the standard circulation type, coat of arms design, for that year. And while some sources list a commemorative 1981 coin for the wedding of Charles, Prince of Wales and Lady Diana Spencer with mintage of about 20 million, this actually refers to a special variant. One must check carefully whether their coin is a royal wedding design or the standard coat of arms design. Because of its composition, design, and the fact that many of these coins were produced, so not extremely rare, you might think the coin would not be very valuable, but I urge you to reconsider. In the world of numismatics, value is driven by condition grade, rarity, mintage survival, demand, and special features like mint errors or uncirculated condition. Even though this coin had a relatively high mintage, if yours is in exceptional condition, it can fetch a premium. Looking at current market indications, in a price guide for this coin, KM number 72, the mintage is listed at 44.1 million for 1981 business strikes. The same guide lists modest values. For circulated grades, perhaps just a few dollars above face value. For example, the guide notes values of about $4 to $10 for average circulated examples. However, that is just a baseline. In actual listings, one uncirculated UNC 1981 Australia 50-cent coin was listed on eBay for 7.50 Australian dollars, approximate US $5 in uncirculated condition. Another listing of a royal wedding 1981 50-cent coin shows a buy it now price of 7,000 Australian dollars, though one must be cautious of inflated asking prices and verify the coin's design, rarity, and condition. So what is the current realistic value? For a typical circulated 1981 Australia 50-cent coin, coat of arms design, you might expect something in the range of perhaps US $4, 10 or equivalent in Australian dollars, if it shows average wear. For uncirculated condition, especially in high grade, for example gem uncirculated, values may rise to higher amounts, maybe tens of US dollars. But, and this is key, if the coin is certified in an ultra-high grade, for example MS65 or above, or has some unusual feature, mint error, rare variety, special finish, then the value can go significantly higher. Now, let's talk about the future potential. This coin has strong upside for collectors because it has many of the ingredients of a good collectible. It is over 40 years old. It carries the bust of Elizabeth II, which adds interest following her passing and the transition in Commonwealth coinage. It has a distinctive shape, 12-sided, and a nice historical context. If you have one in brilliant condition, or better yet a rare variant or error, the value could climb significantly. Could it go to, say, US $100, US $200, or even more? Yes, under favorable circumstances. For example, if one finds a high-grade, certified coin in a special finish or with low survival rate, or perhaps an extra uncirculated coin that was released straight from mint, collector enthusiasm can drive prices upward. I would estimate that a very fine premium example could reach perhaps US $50, $150 in the next few years. If a truly rare variant emerges, mistake strike, very low mintage, spectacular grade, then possibly even more, perhaps US $200, $300 or more in the long run. Some numismatic news from related Australian 50-cent coins suggests that rarities can fetch hundreds of dollars. When I say motivate the audience, here's why you should pay attention. If you own this coin, you have a legitimate chance at a collectible that may appreciate. Holding it in top condition, getting it graded, keeping it away from wear and damage, and keeping an eye on its provenance can make a real difference. Even if you acquire it at face value or low cost, the future value could easily exceed what most people expect for a standard circulating coin. Here are some tips for maximizing value. First, preserve the condition. Avoid cleaning. Avoid scratches. Store in a safe, non-acidic holder. Second, consider getting it professionally graded by a trusted grading service. A certified MS/UNC grade can command a premium. Third, verify the variant/design carefully. Standard coat of arms versus special royal wedding design, because that affects the value. Fourth, keep the coin documented, stored, and consider holding it for medium to long term rather than flipping for a quick sale. The value tend to build over time as the number of high-grade survivors declines. To summarize, the 1981 Australia 50-cent coin is indeed valuable, especially in strong condition or rare variants. Its current everyday value for average examples is modest, a few dollars. But its future value for quality pieces has good potential. I believe it could realistically reach US $100, $200, or more depending on condition/rarity in the coming years. If you own one, treat it well, document it, protect it, you might be sitting on a gem. Next coin, the 1983 Australian 50-cent coin, is a truly exciting piece for any collector, and I want you to understand that it is valuable with very real potential to grow in worth. While some may view it as just another circulating coin, creeping beneath the surface is a story of history, condition, rarity, and demand that can turn this modest denomination into a meaningful collectible. Let's begin with its history and why it was made. The coin was struck by the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra in 1983, according to the museum records. In that year, there were 48,923,000 of these coins minted. The design features on the obverse the bust of Elizabeth II with the legend, Elizabeth II, Australia 1983. On the reverse of the design is the Australian Commonwealth coat of arms, supported by a kangaroo and an emu, placed above stylized wattle leaves. The coin is made from 75% copper, 25% nickel, weighs approximately 15.55 g, and has a diameter of 31.5 millimeters in the dodecagonal, 12-sided shape. Why was this design used, and why in this format? The 12-sided 50-cent coin was introduced in 1969 to replace the earlier round silver version, which had become impractical due to bullion value and metal cost. From 1969 onwards, a standard circulating 50-cent coin, for years without a commemorative design, used the coat of arms reverse, as the 1983 coin does. So the 1983 coin continues that ongoing tradition of Australia's decimal coinage, and for collectors it sits at an interesting intersection of general circulation, age, and condition. Now let's talk about how many people want to buy it, or more correctly, how strong is the demand. While I cannot give an exact number of buyers, evidence from listings shows that collectors are actively seeking these coins, especially in uncirculated condition or with special varieties or mint errors. For example, a listing for this 1983 50-cent coin shows it being watched by 13 people on eBay. Another listing shows an uncirculated roll item from 1983, as noted in one listing, had 30 sold already. These data points show interest is real. Demand is concentrated among those who specialize in Australian decimal coins, who look for high-grade examples, certified coins, or error/variety types. So yes, there are buyers, and serious ones, prepared to pursue this year and denomination when they find a well-preserved specimen. Turning to its current value, let's look at the facts. In standard circulated condition, this coin is not extravagantly priced, but that does not mean it lacks value. Price guides show modest valuations. For example, one site valuation shows a value of around $1.39 for the 1983 50-cent in standard condition. Other sources list higher values depending on grade. But importantly, one niche market listing for an error version, a ramstrike error, is priced around $400 Australian dollars. So, the current everyday value of a standard circulated 1983 50-cent coin might be relatively low, a few dollars, but for higher grade/unusual types, the value jumps significantly. Is the value really high or low? The answer depends entirely on condition, rarity, and variant. For a regular circulated coin, it may seem low. Indeed, many listings show modest sale prices. But that is only one side of the story. For a very good condition coin, uncirculated, gem graded, or for one with mint error or special variety, the value becomes meaningful and high relative to face value. So while many coins are low value, the potential high end is very interesting. Let's explore the maximum value scenario. Suppose you have a 1983 50-cent coin in impeccable condition, perhaps graded by a professional service, with crisp strike, no wear, original mint luster, and absolutely minimal handling marks. Add to that the possibility of a rare variety or error, for example, partial collar error, which, for this year, is documented. Under those conditions, what could it sell for? While I cannot guarantee a specific number, I would estimate that a premium specimen might fetch anywhere from a few $100s up to maybe $400 to $500 US or more in the right setting, because we already see listings for errorcoins at around $400 Australian dollars, US dollar 260-300 perhaps. The ceiling for outstanding coins could rise further as collector interest grows and supply of high-grade survivors is limited. Now I want to motivate you. If you own one of these coins from 1983, you have in your hand more than 50 cents. You hold a slice of Australian numismatic history, a coin over 4 decades old, with design connections to a long-reigning monarch and part of a large but not unlimited mintage. Many of these coins will have been used in everyday transactions, worn, scratched, or damaged. The truly high-quality survivors are fewer in number and will stand out. If you treat yours well, keep it clean without cleaning it harshly, store it inside a proper holder, avoid contamination, and maybe even get it graded, you can position it for the future. Think of it this way. You could have picked up this coin for face value or near it, but with the right condition and timing, the coin's value can grow, perhaps substantially. While there is no guarantee of massive overnight windfall, the upward potential is real. The market for collectible Australian coins is steady and sometimes surprising when rare variants or excellent condition pieces surface. The fact that there are known error types, like the partial collar, means that savvy collectors are on the lookout, so your chance to stand out is better if your coin is special. It helps to appreciate that the coin's value is almost entirely dependent on survival condition and collector demand, rather than simply mintage. Although nearly 49 million were minted in 1983, millions have gone into circulation, been lost, damaged, or melted in error, so the number of high-grade survivors becomes much lower in effect. Therefore, the real competition is among the high-quality survivors. If you have one of those, you are in a stronger position. Also consider the wide collectible value. The coin features a monarch who is historically significant. The design is iconic. The format is distinctive 12-sided. And for many collectors, the appeal is not just monetary, but historical and aesthetic. The good condition example becomes a display piece and conversation starter, which gives it a different kind of value beyond its face value. Another motivating factor is that the coin is old enough that many examples may show wear or have been overlooked. This means there's still potential to discover a good specimen among coins that have circulated. For you, that means if you have one and it looks good, minimal wear, nice luster, no major marks, you might have something more than ordinary. If you are thinking about holding it, treat it as a long-term prospect. The value might not skyrocket overnight, but if you keep it in great shape, resist the temptation to clean it or mishandle it, you might find that over the years its value rises steadily. In numismatics, condition is king and rarity drives premium. The standard circulating examples may always trade modestly, but the premium tier is where things get interesting. I encourage you to compare your coin with reference pieces. Check for full luster, sharp details on the coat of arms reverse, crispness in the lettering, no major scratches, no rim knocks, and check the 12 sides for uniformity. If you suspect your coin might be a special variety or error, for example flange or miscollar, you can consult with a dealer or send to a grading service. Next coin, Australia 50-cent 1996 Elizabeth II coin, a piece of history that carries national symbolism, solid metal composition, royal legacy, and a serious collector appeal. This coin stands out because it belongs to a mature phase of Australia's decimal currency era. Yet it is old enough now to be considered nostalgic and collectible, and it represents the last decade of Queen Elizabeth II's earlier portrait style before later effigies were introduced. Collectors always give respect to transitional decades, and 1996 sits right in that sweet spot of modern yet rising in age collectability. This coin shows a powerful Commonwealth coat of arms on one side, with the kangaroo and emu standing united under the shield of Australia's states, surrounded by stylized wattle. On the obverse sits a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Raphael Maklauf, an iconic design that collectors admire for its regal, highly detailed hair and crown. It is a kind of portrait that symbolizes strength and legacy, and coins with this effigy are gaining traction now that the Queen's era has officially transitioned into history. That alone gives this coin a powerful emotional and historical appeal going forward. The coin is struck in copper nickel, with its famous 12-sided shape, a design that instantly stands out in any collection. The weight, feel, edges, and iconic geometry all add personality. When a coin has beauty, familiarity, and age working together, value follows. Many serious collectors chase these specific decades because they represent a timeline shift and a generation change in Australian pockets. Now let's talk about demand. There are thousands of collectors in Australia and internationally who appreciate Australian decimal coins. People actively buy rolls, bags, mint-sealed examples, and high-grade circulation finds. Even more collectors now search for mint errors from a 90s era, because error collecting is booming and 50-cent coins are famous for rim issues, strikes off-center, and other mechanical quirks. This means the potential buyer market is strong and rising with time. Where can you buy it? Online marketplaces like eBay, Etsy coin sellers, Australian coin shops, numismatic auction houses, Facebook numismatic groups, and specialized online coin dealers regularly list 1996 50-cent coins. Coin fairs and swap meets across Australia also offer great opportunities to acquire high-grade examples and speak with experienced collectors. Where can you sell it? The same places: online marketplaces, reputable numismatic dealers, Facebook collector communities, Australian auction platforms, and coin fairs. The key for high value is condition and visibility. The better you present it and the better preserved the coin is, the better the price you can attract. Now about value. This coin is valuable and its potential is serious. A normal circulated example already has a premium for collectors who want specific year runs. High-grade, lustrous, and uncirculated pieces can command impressive premiums. Error versions can soar much higher because error collecting is exploding. A premium specimen could easily sell beyond what anyone expects for a 50-cent coin. Right now, typical circulated examples might trade for a small premium, but that's not our focus. The true chase is stunning condition. Gem examples could rise into many dollars. A superb MS-graded slab coin could attract international interest. And the highest tier, rare mint errors or flawless rolls, can reach collector bidding wars, potentially going into the hundreds of dollars range over time as supply tightens and numismatic interest grows. Is it worth keeping? Absolutely yes. This coin already left the era of ordinary pocket change. Now it enters collectible maturity. Every year that passes, the number of untouched high-quality survivors shrinks. You are not just keeping currency. You are holding a growing collectible asset. Should you seal it? If your coin has mint luster, clean surfaces, razor-sharp edges, and no major marks, put it in a protective holder immediately. Never clean it. Let its natural aging and original mint surface remain untouched. If you come across a coin that looks perfect, consider professional grading, because a certified top-tier grade dramatically increases market trust and price ceiling. Collectors know something simple. Today's common coins become tomorrow's prize survivors when stored and protected. So you have a chance to turn this into a future gem by treating it like a treasure now. Imagine in years ahead when the Queen Elizabeth era is even further behind us, and you're holding a perfect example of a mid-90s 50-cent coin that others spent without thinking. That time advantage becomes value. The story of this coin is about progression. Australia moving forward, a queen's legacy continuing, and everyday currency evolving into collectible history. It is not merely a piece of metal. It is a timestamp of life in 1996, a symbol of national pride, and a relic of a monarch's long reign. People overlook coins in drawers and jars, but collectors look deeper. They see growth, future scarcity, nostalgia, and pride. And nostalgia is powerful, especially when tied to a global monarch whose imagery defined decades of Commonwealth history. That emotion translates into premium value down the line. Picture yourself selling this coin in the future, when collectors chase early portrait queen coins more aggressively and high-grade survivors become harder to find. You will be in the right position because you prepared early. That's how collectors win. Yes, you should keep it. Yes, you should protect it. Yes, the value can grow, and yes, this is a coin with future potential. The 1996 Australian 50-cent coin has already traveled decades. Now it steps into a new phase where condition preservation and numismatic patience can turn a small denomination into a meaningful monetary reward. Hold it. Respect it. Store it properly and watch how time rewards those who recognize value before the crowd. In the world of coins, the quiet pieces today often become the celebrated treasures of tomorrow, and your 1996 50-cent coin has all the elements to join that journey.